Hello, everybody. This is Pulp Christian. I'm Dave.
I'm Tyler.
This is a podcast where we talk about Christianity and things like that.
Things like that.
Yep.
What else is like Christianity, Dave, since you opened up that can of worms?
Ooh. I don't know. I guess there's nothing else like Christianity.
So this is the show where we like to field questions from our listeners, from my Facebook friends, and from websites that ask Christian questions. So we've got some good ones today, and maybe a little new thing for you.
Uh-oh.
So the first question we're going to do, we thought we'd get topical for once. This question comes from Steven. It says, where are all the Christians in the news finding the, we'll call Christian force fields that protect them from coronavirus? If believing in Jesus protects us from COVID-19, why doesn't it protect us from all the other viruses, and why are Christians dying from this? Are they just not worshiping as hard as we are? What's the deal? So,
Okay.
yeah, coronavirus.
Yeah. The only people saying that being a Christian will prevent you from getting sick are like the prosperity gospel people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing in the Bible that says that being a Christian will prevent you from getting sick.
There's a lot of issues with the Word of Faith movement in general. You know, saying things like, if you have enough faith, you'll be healed. And if you don't have enough faith, I know a guy who had a really sick daughter who was sick for years and years. And sometimes people would come up to her and him and say, you know, if it's really sad to me that you don't have enough faith to be healed. And it's like, for somebody who's that sick for that long, that's not the sort of comfort that they're probably looking for.
Right. So I guess one dude in particular, Kenneth Copeland, has been sort of on the warpath, which that dude, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but that dude looks like he's possessed. Like, have you ever seen him, like, smile?
Yeah.
It looks like his face is going to melt off and, like, a demon's going to come out of his mouth.
It's terrifying, yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, I never want to speak bad about another Christian, nor do I doubly so want to speak bad about a pastor, but I feel like he can easily be an exception to me because he says so many horrible things and is so greedy. And the tube of, I mean, you can just look up the tube of demons thing on YouTube, or him blowing COVID-19 away with the fires of hell. Whatever you want to do, I mean, he can sort of destroy his own credibility if you just do a little bit of research. But yeah, people like him who sort of stand on God is powerful, and my faith is powerful, and I can't possibly be defeated. A child of God can't be defeated by a disease. You know, it's like I would just have you look at the Apostle Paul and his ailments, or Timothy and his stomach problems, and I mean, God heals who He wants to heal. He's not at our sort of beck and call.
Right. Yeah, I think. Okay, so
don't you feel like people are treating coronavirus like it's from the devil, and like, you know, they with the power of God can dispel it? But it's like, I mean, God sovereignly allowed this to happen.
Yes, He did. And also, I mean, the reality is that sickness is in the world because of sin, because Adam and Eve fell in the garden and the earth was cursed. So there is now sickness and all kinds of pestilence and war and stuff. But yeah, God is sovereign over everything, including coronavirus. And yeah, there's just nothing in the Bible that says that Christians cannot get sick. And if you do get coronavirus, I don't think that means that you're not a Christian.
Or you have low faith.
Yeah, it just means it's a virus going around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would really suck to sort of add insult to injury, you know, be really sick and then have other Christians tell you that you don't have enough faith to get better. You know, why didn't Paul just mail his handkerchief or his washcloth or whatever he was passing around to heal people? Why didn't he just send that through UPS to Timothy and get him healed, or show up himself?
One of my favorite, speaking of like charlatans, have you ever heard of Peter Popoff?
No.
So he was a big time, he's another like Word of Faith clown. It was real big in the 80s. And
he's about to pop off.
Yeah. He got caught with like an ear mic, and his wife was like feeding him info.
Right, cold reading people.
Yeah, he was pretending to. Anyways, he was selling. So here's the claim: you've heard of Chernobyl in Russia?
Yeah.
So like in Chernobyl, there was a nuclear power plant that like blew up, and now Chernobyl is still radioactive. And if you go there, like, you'll die from radiation poisoning. So he's claiming that there's a river in Chernobyl that he got a bunch of water from, and that it's miracle spring water. And so if you send him like $20 or something, he'll send you this little vial of this water, and if you drink it, it will give you money and like heal any sickness that you have.
Will it really?
No.
Oh. Bummer.
No, I think it's probably toilet water from his bathroom.
There's a dude. I'm trying to find the text that I sent you, David. Here it is. So there's this video kind of going around called Justin Peters Challenges Todd White and Andrew Womack to Start Healing. So Andrew Womack, I don't know if Todd White is going around saying he can heal people from coronavirus, but Andrew Womack specifically is saying he can heal people from coronavirus. Like if he was next to you and you were sick, he could just reach out his hand and heal you, which that's cool. Yeah. So that's really wonderful. I'm glad that he has that gift. And just Justin Peters, who must be a pastor or something. He well spoken at least. Oh, he is.
I've listened to him. He's a good Reformed guy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I won't be listening. I'm just kidding. Anyways, so he issued a challenge.
Sounds like you need to be healed from your false belief system.
For what?
For your Arminianism.
I am not an Arminian, and I resent that remark. You know I don't choose sides. I just stay right in my lane, which is to say the middle of the road where the dotted line is where you're not supposed to drive.
Right. So you're saying you're neither hot nor cold.
Wow. So what's his name? Justin Peters. He issued a challenge to these two guys to start healing people. Like if you have that gift, then do it.
So real quick, so Todd White is another Word of Faith. He's a big buff guy, and he has.
Yeah, I've watched a few of his videos. I've seen him pull people's legs out and stuff like that.
So one of his favorite tricks is to tell people that one of their legs is shorter than the other.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Which, in this video, actually, Justin Peters shows that this has been it's been something that basically charlatans have been doing for decades, not people who claim to have the gift of healing but are really just tricking people. They are now starting to do it, but it's like a well-known thing that basically hucksters have done for years and years and years.
The leg lengthening.
Yeah. You just bend the leg a certain way to start with so it looks shorter, and then you pull it out.
Right.
So the issue with guys like this, and why I feel as a Christian okay calling them out, calling them by name, is because they know what they're doing. You know, it's not like they're deceived and they have good intentions, but they know that they're tricking people. And that is what's really, really scary to me. Not just to believe that God can heal through you and then attempt to do it with real faith. And then if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But like actually knowingly trick people is horrible.
Yeah. I mean, God sees that, and he's going to spank their butts, and they're not going to like it. So they better quit that.
Yeah. I don't know how you can truly claim to know the Lord and just be so disregarding of God in that way for that amount of time, because these people have been doing it their whole lives, using the gospel as a way to get money, and it's horrible. And so with the coronavirus is no exception. I think if you listen to people like that and you think, well, they have some good things to say, even if maybe all of it, no, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater in this case. You know, it says no bad tree bears good fruit and vice versa.
I mean, they get the gospel wrong.
Right.
So like their version, they teach a doctrine. So Kenneth Copeland, Creflo Dollar, Jesse Duplantis, Todd White, all these people, they teach this doctrine called, they believe that they are gods, lowercase g.
Mm-hmm.
So they believe that, what they say is like, so God created everything to reproduce after its kind. So like humans create more humans.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, therefore, God, when he creates something, he creates more gods. And so they say that...
So the bugs and the dirt is all...
What?
Well, everything was created by God, so by that logic, like...
Well, because it says that we're created in his image.
Oh, I see.
What they're saying is he created us we're gods.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Is that what Montel Jordan meant when he said, ever since I was a lowercase g, but now I'm a big G?
Maybe. They also teach that when Jesus was on the cross, he ceased being the Son of God. They just basically stay away from these pigs. They wallow around in their lies and their filth.
You heard it here first. So next, let's go with...
Please don't edit that out.
I am definitely going to.
Please don't.
Okay, so Megan, let's save the hard question for last. So if anybody stops listening and we screw it up, then they'll miss it.
Okay.
So the next question, Megan says, if Christians understand they are all sinners, why are they always pretending like they've got it all together? I really like this question.
It's a good question.
Because I feel like I've been beating this drum for a long time, or waving this flag, whatever idiom you'd like.
Okay.
Christianity, in our current sort of day and age, there's a lot of, it feels like Christians, they just show up to Bible study or show up to church. In the church I grew up in, which was a Lutheran church, everybody was 100% like, we have the perfect, beautiful family in our perfect church clothes. We're going to go home and just have a blessed afternoon in the sun. And then the whole week will be resplendent with Christ-like actions and activities. And then we'll be back here to worship with you guys next Sunday. And then they go home and it's just, hell on earth.
Chaos.
Yeah. And it's the same way. So that was a church that I would describe as predominantly probably populated by non-Christians, people that don't truly know the Lord.
Okay.
But even within biblical Christianity...
Do you say that because you know the people, or you're saying that because...
I know for a fact that they preached a false gospel from the pulpit.
Oh, they do?
So it'd be very hard to get saved in that environment.
Okay.
And then just their lives were a hot mess. Like there was tons of immorality and divorce and all kinds of stuff.
Like what was their gospel? If you could sum it up real quick.
Well, they literally told my mother, after my mom became a Christian, she went to the pastor and told him like, hey, I just got saved. Like I heard the gospel, the good news that Jesus died for my sins. And I accepted that and I became a child of God today, or last night or whatever. And he goes, well, you can't actually ever get saved. That's kind of a lie. What happens is you're born a Christian, and then only by unbelief can you lose your salvation. So basically the exact opposite of what's true.
That's kind of what Islam teaches.
Yeah, exactly. So,
okay.
Yeah. Anyways, but even within like real Christianity, as Dave would call it, Reformed Christianity. No, there's a lot of just painting your face and showing up to Bible study and how's your week, brother? Yeah, I mean, Christianity, we've said this before on this podcast, but it's all about broken, wicked people who need saved. And then somehow that gets like transmogrified to totally spiritually upright, perfect people who can't ever be honest with each other. And definitely not to non-believers. You have got to exalt Jesus in your life in front of non-believers. Don't ever let them see a crack in that veneer,
Oh,
doesn't make any sense to me.
I think one thing that people do is, which I've tried really hard to not do this because I was hyper aware of it before I was a Christian, and I don't want to do this. But, like, it would be... So, for instance, like, I used to be openly gay. So now that I'm a Christian, I could start just condemning all the people I know who are gay or who still, live that way and act like I'm better than you because I know the secret and I got this thing conquered or whatever. And, just start telling people like, you need to do this and you need to do that. And it's like, I think that comes from a place of arrogance. I don't think that it honors Jesus or makes God happy when people do that. I think if anything, what we should be doing is, if we know someone who struggles with the same thing that we do, and maybe they're not a Christian and we are, what we can do is we can say, hey, look, I know exactly what you're going through, and then we could use that as a way to sort of share the gospel with them in a personal way and be like, I've struggled with this too. I don't have all the answers, but I know that Jesus does.
Yeah, I mean, it paints a realistic picture of the Christian experience when everybody, when you know the real true life and they're secretly struggling, but then you get in Bible study with them and they're acting like they've got it all together. It's kind of like, wait, what? And I was just telling somebody the other day, Dave, that, and I won't at all
what was that?
Out you, but I told somebody the other day that the way you were in Bible study 2 weeks ago is probably the most honest I've ever seen anybody in a Bible study ever. And I told you that I really think like it was probably super helpful to people there because everybody struggles to be honest. I think my Bible study in particular struggles less than other ones I've been a part of, but still we struggle to be honest and to let people really just let them in to our world. And it's easy to say 4 years ago I used to really struggle with this and this, but today I've really got it all together. And harder still to say right in this very moment I suck at X, Y, and Z. We reserve that for like our accountability partner or whatever. So
Also, if you're a Christian, you're listening to this, don't do that. Like,
hey, quit it.
Just knock it off.
Stop that.
I mean, no one's going to respect you. It's going to be the opposite if you present yourself as this perfect, holier-than-thou person. People I don't think people are normally drawn to that. Yeah. They're drawn to, like, genuine, like, real people.
Yeah. That reminds me of my wife. She has started sort of experimenting with that with Christians and non-Christians, and she will be super open and honest about her life and get way more better reactions out of both categories of people and more honesty from them. And they're like, wow, I really thought you had it all together. And another non-Christian person I know, when I shared some super honest stuff with them, they later told their sisters who are both Christians, like, I literally thought Tyler and Chrissy had the perfect life and they never had any problems. And so I'm really glad I shared that, and really sad that before that he had that impression, because just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you're dishonoring Christ if you're honest with non-believers. Like, you don't have to go overboard, but,
Right.
Anyway.
So, I guess to sum up that question, why...
Just stop it.
Yeah, why do Christians do that? I mean, I think it's sin.
Insecurity, maybe.
Yeah, it's insecurity.
Worrying that people won't get saved if you're not perfect.
Yeah, or just the fear of, like, being judged. Yeah, I don't think it's right.
Yeah. Hey, stop that. So, Dave, I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
I was thinking about changing my name to Ty Fieri.
Okay.
There's a new segment I want to just try out.
Is he the guy that wears Crocs?
He's the guy who has two-tone facial hair and spiky blonde hair and...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Are you talking about Guy Fieri or Ty Fieri? Because I don't wear Crocs.
Yet.
I did not say anything about Guy Fieri. I don't know how you jumped to there.
Okay.
But anyways, Guy Fieri, since you brought it up, he has a show called Triple D. He's got another one called Triple G, and I thought I'll have a Triple T. It's called Tyler's Trending Topics. So here's the first one: multi-level marketing.
Hey Tyler, real quick.
Hey,
what's up? I have a really awesome business opportunity for you.
Okay, hit me. Does it involve selling knives?
No, not this one.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No. All I need from you is $1,000 up front.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay. No, I'm just joking.
Well, I was in until you you broke the bit, because I was bought in. I already brought the money with me.
So multi-level marketing?
Yeah. So what that is a creative word for pyramid scheme.
Okay. Also known as a scam.
Also known as a scam. Yeah. So you know how when you work for like a big corporation, how the CEO makes way more money than everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is like that, but like 10 times worse.
Okay.
So if you like those, no.
Yep.
So if you want to be your own boss babe, work from home,
yeah,
making that sweet side cash, so, pulling in 6 G's every month, hawking
every month
tights, candles, soaps.
Okay. I love all those things.
Yeah, me too. Who doesn't? So what you got to do is, do you have a Facebook?
I do.
Okay, so start pimping out your wares to all of your, well, actually first, sorry to say, this is just real quick.
Okay.
You buy all the product yourself and store it in your house. Do you have the space for that?
Not really.
Are you pretty liquid right now?
Can you...
So then you get on the Facebook.
Okay.
You discover that nobody wants the stuff that you're selling, which don't tune out yet, because it gets better. But if they do buy it, then there's like one of your Facebook friends that helped you out, and the rest of them are just super annoyed that you're posting this crap all the time. So yeah, it's great. Actually, it's terrible. There's a thing where, like, I think in order to subsidize staying at home and not working, a lot of, I'll just say it, moms have taken up to starting a side business of some kind, which is great. But
right.
And I don't necessarily blame all the boss babes out there who get involved in this, because a lot of it they don't understand.
Is that a buzzword, boss babe?
Yeah, hashtag boss babe.
Okay.
Yeah, some people call them hunns, which because...
As in the Chinese warriors?
No, the ones that Mulan defeated? No. Because let's get down to business to defeat the huns. So no, not those. People call them huns because when they message you on Facebook, they use like 1,000 emojis all the time. And they're like, "Hey, hun, what's up? Long time no see. I haven't talked to you since middle school, but hey, I've got a really good opportunity for you. Would you like to make money from home?"
Ugh.
So that's why they're called huns, because they always call you hun to try to sort of,
Gotcha.
get you sweet on them.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with MLMs.
Yeah. So but the bad thing is they actually, the companies prey on you, the distributor. I mean, you know what a pyramid scheme is. This is that.
Right.
So you know somebody who got involved in one of these.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, basically, this person, he didn't really understand.
We'll call him Jeb.
We'll call him Jeb. We'll call him Deb. He didn't really know what it was, and so he was kind of telling me about it. This was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. As he was explaining it to me, I immediately...
So you got a call from this place saying, "We heard from your friend that you were looking for a new fantastic opportunity to work at Vector Industries." And then I remember you called, you're just like, "Oh, cool." And we went to their website to figure out what kind of business it was, and it did not say.
Right.
It just said that they were really successful for like 25 years, and this is how much money we make, and you can make a ton of money, just, and we're like, "Well, what do you do?" And then you called to ask that very same question, because we were kind of nervous for your friend.
Yeah. And I don't remember what they said on the phone, but basically...
They wouldn't tell you what they did.
Okay, yeah. So me and you ended up going to one of their meetings, and
like a mass hiring event.
Yeah, And I just remember them saying like that it was going to cost like $175, and I'm like, what kind of job or what kind of business requires you to give them money to work for them?
But do you remember what happened before we got in that meeting?
I don't.
Maybe I should have told this story.
I don't remember it. So
I mean, it's so funny to me. There's a woman working behind a desk, and Dave goes up to her and says, "We're here for the interview." And she's like, "Okay, have a seat. We're going to be calling you in a few minutes." And Dave goes, "Well, can I just ask what you guys do? Because we went to your website, we called you. I think I talked to you, and nobody would tell me." And she goes, "Well, they'll explain it in the meeting, and, and then you leaned over the counter, like you got in her face and looked, because she was looking at a magazine, and it was a magazine full of knives. And you go, okay, so you sell knives." And then she like got really pale, and then you went and sat down. Do you remember that?
Yeah, as you say it. Yeah, before I was a Christian, I was very confrontational. Mm-hmm. And if you're familiar with the Enneagram stuff, I'm an 8. So if that means anything to anyone.
So then we went into the meeting. They gave their pitch. They said you have to buy like a bunch of knives and hawk it to all your friends. And then they made us sit in utter silence. And they said, if you talk, we're going to take you guys out for one-on-one interviews, one by one. And if any of you talk to each other, you will immediately be asked to leave.
Yeah, I do. I remember that. I remember being very angry after he said that, because I also don't like people telling me what to do, especially when it's like pointless
or immoral.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing was they didn't want, if 75% of the people in the room figured out it was a scam, they didn't want you letting the gullible people know.
So we sat there and waited for our interviews. I remember the guy called me back. He was like my age. And I remember I let him have it. I was like, you are a charlatan. Like, this is a pyramid scheme. It's a scam. And the girl out there wouldn't even tell me what you guys did. And he goes, I'm sorry, that woman actually just quit about 10 minutes ago.
AKA right after you talked to her.
Yeah, and so she no longer works here.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, but you're a con artist. Like, you should be arrested. Or I said all this stuff, and he sat there. This is what happened. He sat there silently, and then he extended his hand and said, I would like to offer you a position. And I said, no. And I just got up and left.
Yeah, and then I had to go like right after you, and it was very awkward. That was such a good time, though.
Man, we really committed to that.
Yeah.
To that, didn't we?
I know. We went in for interviews. It was
we should
just all to protect Deb.
Yeah. Good old Deb. Okay, so with MLMs, I mean, in my opinion, I think they should be avoided at all cost.
Yeah.
I think
some people have gone bankrupt. There's like a website, a forum that's devoted to, it's called Anti-MLM, and there's
on Reddit.
Yeah, and there's people who will post their sales history, their bank account information, with the appropriate things blacked out, and it'll show like, I bought into this, and now I have like 3 rooms in my house filled with LuLaRoe stretchy pants, and I have to sell my house because I'm like bankrupt. And it's horrible because when you call and ask them for help and say, I can't sell the merchandise I have, and they say, well, that's because you don't have the most up-to-date stuff. You just got to buy more, the newer stuff. That's what's selling like hotcakes right now. And they just lie to you and try to get you to, basically, they only make money because you buy their stuff, not because you get other people to buy their stuff. It's because you're buying it.
Yeah.
So that's their whole business model, is to scam
you,
not
like you're the schmuck that bought all this stuff. Like, no one else is going to buy this garbage.
Yeah, that's horrible. So, I mean, there's a lot of that stuff that's probably pretty tame. A lot of the, candle house parties and stuff that people have, maybe, but it is a dangerous, slippery slope.
It would make sense if you could order the stuff as needed.
Right.
Like, if you don't have to buy it all up front, if you could just be like, okay, today I sold 2 candles or 2 bottles of pills that cure cancer. There's
right.
I know another person who
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Don't get me started on her on her goop. No, but if it's like I sold 2 bottles I'm just going to order it as needed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that would be better than you have to invest $1,000 up front.
Right. If only there was a way to get things without a middleman off the internet for like a third of the price of what you pay from these crappy companies and with usually better quality.
Yeah.
Man, that would be nice.
If only there was if there was like a giant building just full of merchandise and you could go in and just buy like one item.
Yeah, like if you wanted a candle that didn't cost like $17.
Right. Yeah. And you could just go into this building, pick out what you want, and only buy those things.
Yeah.
Huh.
One day.
I'm surprised no one's done that yet.
Yeah. Like a mart surrounded by 4 walls.
Yeah.
All right, so here's our difficult question, Dave. Are you ready? You got your thinking cap on?
Okay, you got my thinking shoes on.
We got to get Liam to stop asking questions because this is too difficult. All right, so it says, there are a lot of Old and New Testament rules that are clearly not followed, but many other rules are held so strictly that they've affected our very laws. How do Christians choose to ignore or follow some of these rules? Basically ignoring parts of the Bible and believing parts of them. I know from speaking with him when I asked a clarifying question,
okay,
as they called it at my old job, what he specifically was asking about in part was, why do people no longer follow a lot of the Old Testament sort of Mosaic law? But then as we talked, he was also, we were also talking about, how church pastors will get really hyped up on certain social issues and totally ignore other things like, one man, one woman for life versus other things that they blatantly are greedy and they don't care about, like all of Luke 12.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's a fair question. It seems like what happens sometimes, first of all,
do you want to address the Mosaic Law thing real fast, and then we can...
That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
So, Jesus ushered in what is called the New Covenant. So, before Jesus died on the cross, we were under the law of Moses, which required animal sacrifices and that we follow all of these...
like cleanliness and purification.
Very rigid type laws and ceremonial rules and stuff.
And... briefly, a lot of them were they were to be a picture of the Christian life and of Jesus in a lot of cases. The point of them was largely to show how holy God is and how unholy people are. Yes. And
it was understood that nobody could perfectly fulfill the law, and which is... the only person who did was Jesus. Okay, so Jesus dies, he rises from the dead, and now we're under the new covenant. So the new covenant is a covenant of grace, and we are not required to follow all of the Mosaic laws, because also Gentiles, so a Gentile is anyone who's not a Jew, Gentiles have now been grafted into and adopted into God's family along with the Jews who are saved. And so the idea is that Jesus said it doesn't matter what you put in your body, talking about eating food, it's not what goes into a person that makes him unclean, it's what comes out of the heart that makes him unclean. And so... it
literally pauses right there in the Bible and says, in saying this, he made all foods clean.
Yeah.
It's like in one sentence, it just wiped out every rule regarding food in the entire Old Testament.
Right. And so like the food laws, like the dietary restrictions, the laws about clothing, like not wearing two different types of, fibers and stuff like that, all that's gone, as well as the animal sacrifices.
And plus, like, one thing people don't think about a lot of times is the fact that we are Gentiles. Those laws were for Jews. So, like, this is kind of a theological question for Jews rather than Gentiles, because in Acts, 15, it says, when they're discussing this very issue as the sort of leaders of the church at the time, Peter, talking to everybody, says, God knows people's hearts. He confirmed that he accepts Gentiles by giving them the Holy Spirit, just as he did to us. He made no distinction between us and them, for he cleansed their hearts through faith. So why are you now challenging God by burdening the Gentile believers with a yoke that neither we nor our ancestors were able to bear? We believed we're all saved the same way by the undeserved grace of the Lord Jesus. And so then they write him this letter and say, don't commit sexual immorality and don't do a few other things that make sense. But in general, like, your job is to just worship Jesus. And then the goodness and sort of moral righteousness in your life will flow from you getting to know God more in a relational way, not like from you obeying a bunch of rules.
So another thing at the time, so back in Bible times, one of the big issues, and this touches on Liam's question, one of the big issues was circumcision, because under the Old Covenant, in order to be considered a child of Abraham, you had to be circumcised. And obviously the Gentiles were not, that wasn't part of their culture, so they didn't do it. And so there was a lot of people asking, like, well, if I'm a Gentile and I become a Christian, should I now get circumcised? And there's a lot written on how, no, you don't have to. So as far as Liam's question, like, okay, why do certain pastors pick and choose what to follow and what not to? So a lot of the big issues now, which would be homosexuality, abortion, divorce, how come churches hammer on these topics and not other things? And I think it's because these issues have been politicized and there's like an agenda behind them.
Yeah.
Like, there's very much an agenda behind pushing abortion and gay rights. Like, there's a lot of money and people behind making sure that people have the right to do these things. Mm-hmm. And so...
On both sides.
Yeah. And so as Christians, it's like, well, we don't agree with this. Mm-hmm. Like...
Yeah, it's a cultural thing where Christians get swept up in cultural Christianity and politics. And it's not that the Bible emphasizes certain things, well, the same things that Christians emphasize in America today. Right. It's that we just are cultural human beings and we get wrapped up in the things of our day, whether for right or wrong. And most of the time it seems like it's wrong, at least the way things are pushed. And it is not, like, there's not a lot of pastors out there saying, do not steal. You need to stop stealing. Like, people, because people go to jail for stealing every day, but like, or gluttony or greed, like when they're preaching the sort of same 5 topics over and over again, what that leads me to believe is that these people aren't really reading the Bible and preaching sort of exegetically from the scriptures what is being taught. They are just hammering on the things that they think are going to get people riled up and expand their congregation and the things that people want to hear. Like,
I've talked about this before, the issue of homosexuality. As much as when I see a Christian who's maybe failing in some other moral area, in an unloving way, talking about gay rights and maybe not being very loving about it, it can make me mad. Also, homosexuality is a sin. Like, the Bible says that there's a list of, nor greedy, nor drunkards, nor homosexuals will inherit the kingdom of heaven.
Or swindlers.
Do
not do that.
It is a sin. Mm-hmm. It's a sin that will send people to hell just as much as lying will send someone to hell. And so, while inconsistencies and like...
You're saying, like, don't go too far in the other direction.
Yeah, it doesn't... Just because someone's saying abortion is wrong, homosexuality is wrong, and they themselves are not perfect, it doesn't mean that it's okay to have an abortion and be fucking gay.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, like, Christians are not your standard. The Bible's your standard. Using Christians as a reason to dismiss the Bible or dismiss what God clearly says is also wrong, just as those Christians are wrong for mishandling the Word of God and being a bad representation of Jesus on the earth, which is what we're supposed to be.
And also, as far as like it affecting our laws, I'm not sure what laws he's talking about because we have gay rights and abortion is legal. So,
well, I don't think he's talking about those two specific things. But other things like,
I'm saying I don't know what laws, as far as the hot button topics go, the Christians are not quote unquote winning in those areas.
Well, yeah, I mean, some people would argue with that because of Trump, but yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of. Well,
but they should be. I mean, abortion should be illegal.
Right.
I hate it.
He hates it.
I hate abortion.
Yeah. If anybody wants to know more about that, you can certainly submit that as a question. I mean, that sounds like a joke, but honestly, it's a sensitive issue. I hate it as well, but I 100% get the other side of the argument, and especially when people say that Republicans claim to be pro-life, but then after the kid is born, they don't care about it anymore. I get that too, and we can definitely talk about it. Just submit that question. We'd love to. You can write into Pulp Christian Podcast at gmail.com, or you can go to our Facebook group, which is Pulp Christian Podcast, which comes after facebook.com/. And then we're thinking about doing t-shirts, Dave.
Yeah, we are. I'm excited.
So it's going to be a temporary thing. We're working with one of our friends, Megan, on those. And as soon as those are available, it's going to be my face and Dave's face on a shirt, which I know people have been knocking down our doors. Literally, if you hear knocking right now, it's people banging down the door to
sell you one of our t-shirts.
To try to get one of our t-shirts, but they're just not ready yet. As soon as they are,
I'm excited. I saw one of the drawings, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, so as soon as they're ready, we will. I know we'll let you know. I know it feels like we're hawking stuff right now, and we are. We definitely are, but
we're not asking you to resell them, though.
That's true.
If you want a shirt,
let me know.
If you want a business opportunity, just my number
Hun,
is 5.
Listen up, Hun. I know we haven't talked since high school, but anyways, we are doing this podcast pro bono. Is that the right word? And
yeah,
we are hoping to turn it into a career one day. So This is just part of that. We're not trying to make like enough money to overthrow the government or anything like that. But is that something people say?
I don't know.
So we love you guys and have a blessed day.
Love you.